There's a person on the other side of the feedback that you're giving. And so you must value that person. And the only way that you do that is by demonstrating character, because what's done in the dark always comes to light. What's going on, aspiring school leader? I am Dr. Donovan Smalls II, and welcome to Beyond the Classroom. I help aspiring school leaders navigate interpersonal and organizational complexities for greater instructional impact. Now, today, we are going to be talking about a quintessential question that's going to be critical to your leadership. And the question is, does your skill outweigh your character? I'll say that one more time. Does your skill outweigh your character? And as we begin our conversation today, I want to start off by reading you this quote. And this quote is from Faith Baldwin. And it says, "Character builds slowly, but it can be torn down with incredible swiftness." Now, before we begin to unpack what this quote means or some essential parts of this quote, what is character? Now, character by definition deals with moral excellence, right? Moral excellence. So we're talking about honesty, we're talking about integrity, kindness, fairness, courage, right? Like those are some characteristics of character. But character is about your moral excellence. So when we think about school leadership, right, your character builds slowly. It takes time for you to be able to build relational trust with the individuals that you serve. It takes time for people to see your true intentions as it relates to you being kind and as it relates to you actually being invested in their personal and professional development. That takes time. It takes time because relationships don't just form overnight, but they do form daily. You do have to put in effort. You do have to put in some quality time that you invest into the people that you actually want to build relationships with. Like that's important. So your character takes time to build. However, your character can also be torn down very quickly, right? Like there will be decisions that you are challenged with to make that it's gonna challenge your character. And it reminds me of my first year as a school leader when we were, as a team, responsible for creating or developing our code of conduct. And I started to think about how the code of conduct can really be used as something or this document that empowers people and promotes a restorative type of school environment, or the code of conduct can be a document that is used to weaponize particular groups of students. And so what's the difference in terms of how you enforce that? Well, that has little to do with skill, but a lot to do with your character. Because you, again, have the ability to say, nope, we're going to suspend this student. Nope, we're putting this student in ISS. Nope, this student gets detention. If you're looking at your code of conduct through an equitable lens, then you're going to use that code of conduct as a restorative piece, a restorative document, a restorative practice that actually empowers people to be better, that actually teaches people about the consequences of their actions, but holds them accountable to it, but then shows them why they should not do what they just did, and then provides them with resources so that they can move past that situation and be better. Right? So it's your character that's going to allow you to make critical decisions throughout your school leadership journey. And when I think about character, it reminds me of my favorite or most effective doctor growing up. And when I think about that, I also want you to think about, like, what were some of the characteristics of your favorite doctor or the most effective doctor? And when I think of mine, it wasn't just the skill of the doctor. It wasn't just their ability to assess my needs and implement the training that they learned throughout their throughout medical school or residency, it wasn't that. It wasn't just that. It was also their ability to connect with me. It was their ability to remember that I have a sibling. It was also their ability to remember that I played basketball in high school and in college. It was also their ability to connect with me in ways that made me truly value who they are, because they truly valued who I am. And I'm also thinking about, let's be honest, when you go to the doctor, do you really know the ingredients in whatever it is that they prescribe? I know that I don't, and I'm sure that most people don't. But it's the trust, right? It's the character that they've shown you over time that allows you to trust that they prescribe you with some medicine that's actually going to help cure your ailment, right? It's actually going to help alleviate whatever pain that you are going through. And when it comes to school leadership, it's very similar. And what I mean by that is parents are entrusting you and I with their most prized possession, and that is their child. And the reason why they trust you is not necessarily because of your skill. It's not your ability to help them be the best that they can be academically. It's the fact that you have demonstrated to them that you have the character that is needed to look after their child when they are not able to because they're at work. It's the trust that you have built with that parent so that they understand that if you're calling them about an issue or a concern or about something positive, it's because you truly care. It's about the character that you have demonstrated that allows your school community to come to the conclusion that you are going to be a successful school leader that is committed to the overall development of everyone that you are entrusted to lead. It is those things that truly makes an impact. It's not just the skill, it's also about your character. And so I want to leave you with 4 key principles as it relates to our big idea, our question, which is, does your skill outweigh your character? And number 1, character is equally as important as skill. Your skill is only going to take you so far. But when I talk about your character being equal to your skill, we're talking about letting your yes mean yes and your no mean no. We're talking about keeping your word, responding reasonably, in a reasonable manner, right? A reasonable and timely manner as it relates to responding to emails. It means that when you said that you were going to call this parent back, did you actually do it? It means that how are you actually giving feedback? Are you doing it in a way that values the individual, or are you just focusing on the skill of feedback and aligning it with the evaluation tool that you use? And I'm not saying that you should not do it that way, meaning you shouldn't be focused on the evaluation tool and actually aligning your data with it. I'm not saying that, because you should be doing that. But what I am saying is that you also need to understand that there's a person on the other side of the feedback that you're giving. And so you must value that person. And the only way that you do that is by demonstrating character, because what's done in the dark always comes to light. And so what that means is you have to be committed to developing relationships, to showing empathy and compassion at the same time that you demonstrate the skill of being an instructional leader. They go hand in hand. You cannot do one without the other, not if you want to lead effectively. And so our second key principle is character drives communication. So when we talk about communication, you have to make sure that you're communicating in a way that is respectful, because respect is gained in a mutual way. You don't gain respect just by merely holding a title or being in the position. You gain respect by giving respect. And so the way that you respect other people is by not necessarily, I'm not saying that you should be sugarcoating anything. Be honest. However, consider that, again, we lead people. And so on the other side of what it is that you're saying, you're leading a person with a family, with feelings, with that actually takes their profession very seriously. And so you cannot, or you should not, go around flexing in your authority, because that's not necessarily what people want. That doesn't connect with people. What connects with people is the way that you communicate with them, and your character is going to show and reveal who you truly are. And lastly, character ensures lasting positive impact. And when I think about lasting impact, I'm thinking about legacy. That's the first word that comes to mind. I'm thinking about legacy. Like, what do you want your legacy to be? Do you want your legacy to be that you were a phenomenal instructional leader and you were able to get into classrooms on time and you evaluated so many teachers and you did this, that, and the other as it relates to skill? Which it partly may be important to you, and that's fine. But people aren't going to necessarily remember the skillful aspects of how you led. They are going to remember your character. They are going to remember the trust and the bonds that you've created and the relationships that you developed and the school community and the culture that you cultivated. They're going to remember those things. And so I'm not saying that you shouldn't focus on being a better leader as it relates to your skill. I'm also saying that you need to focus on your character as well, because you cannot lead effectively without character. You have to have skill and character, because once those two meet together, then you start to get into being an effective school leader. I hope that this video added value, and if it did, share it with somebody else. As always, I hope you have a great week of teaching, leading, and learning. Take care.